What's up, brothers and sisters? Kunal here. Bulls on Wall Street. Happy Sunday. Hopefully everybody's ready to watch the Detroit Lions make their run to the Super Bowl. Let's dig into the stock market, what's happening in the indices, and then what we want to trade in the coming week, both on the day trading side and the swing trading side, as I think it's important in this type of market that you probably do a little bit of mixing and matching because stocks are just running for longer periods than they would if, say, the market was in, a different type of phase. So first things first, the QQQs had a small sell-off on Friday. It does not change the structure of the market, but there was some cracks that came into the foundation of the market. What it essentially started with a little bit of news in Palantir, that got sold off, it's kind of spilled over into the rest of the stock. So Palantir had a piece of news out that there was a memo from the Army that basically said, one of their things was not working properly, give or take, right? And it got sold off. And this was an interesting thing because it was a slight change in character in the market in that, typically when we've had these kind of bigger dumps and you grind a little bit into the kind of that midday afternoon, we've been squeezing and kind of busting back over the VWAP and just going back, green pretty much all the time. And so when we actually dumped on this and, we actually followed through a little bit more onto the downside, I think some of that cascaded into, the other tech stocks. You started to see, sell-offs and some of these kind of high flyers that have been just recently moving like Dell and NVIDIA and so on and so forth. So, once then, how the market goes. Once you take down NVIDIA, you take down the markets for the most part. So I think this will be an interesting Monday in that do we get some subsequent follow through or was it a one-off event? We don't really know, right? But it is not out of the cards to get pullbacks in the market. You can see, we had a 2-day pullback right here. We had a 3-day pullback right here. We had a 5 or 6 day pullback right here, right? Markets pull back. I mean, that's just part of the game. And we have felt a little bit of frothiness. So I will be interested in the reaction on Monday. For example, if we gap up or open strong on Monday and then we re-roll, maybe people are starting to take some profits, right? If we just have a flat open and then we just grind higher the rest of the day, then we're in a one-off kind of thing. But overall, the structure of the market still looks the same, but we should have maybe a little bit of caution as obviously we all feel it, right? That we're a little bit extended. Now, those extensions can take some time to play out, but it's never too early to play just a little bit of defense. If you look here at the IWM, you're closing pretty much at all-time highs also. So the overall market still is holding up. If you do a 5-day sort on the different market indices, what you'll see here is Solana was up 32% last week. XRP up 17%. Bitcoin is breaking out to all-time highs. So I think that'll be something we need to watch in this coming Monday, Tuesday, right? What are the Bitcoin stocks that we could be potentially playing that are offshoots of this? Is it, Mara, Riot, or is it more of, CIFR, Iron? They all have an interesting look to it. So I think overall the market looks great still. We may get maybe just some shift, based on what was happening with Palantir and, you could see with Meta. We could possibly get a little bit of a shift away from maybe some of these to other types of names, which is, something that can be in the cards too, as a lot of these names are up a double, since the tariff lows. And so, you could see something like, if you need a short on a large cap, then I think probably this Meta's got, a little break under 700 coming in. It's got a date with the 200-day moving average. It looks like so far, right? The news flow's been a little bit nasty in it. There was some big put buyers on the 700s last week too. So just something to kind of keep an eye on. Now, one thing that does give me a slight bit of caution in coming into, tomorrow is that when I was going through my watch list, I did not see a huge amount of stocks that I really wanted to buy. There's quite a few that look great here. We've been playing this one for a few days. But as you see here, here at $67, the 9 EMAs at 56, 55, it's probably just a little bit extended. So what you want to do with names like this is if it back and fills this area here, then I think it becomes playable again. right? QS is the name I'm currently in. And we have a big breakout here. Like if you look here, this level is just a monster, right? And so, and I'm looking to see like if we can continue on to this, I'll sell into really any extensions. But if we start to flag out over here, I think this is something we can add to. SGML, I think this one's got a chance. So look, this is a lithium company, right? LAC has had a big push, right, with the U.S. government making some positions into this or giving them loans or something along that end. CRML, this is a rare earths company, busted from 8 to 15, so almost a double based on, very similar, type of stuff here. You're looking at a men's deal to lift Tanbury stake to 92% burn, Greenland approval, all of this kind of stuff. So we are, into this like kind of metals phase right now. So I'm thinking this like SGML gets picked up. It's a little bit thin on volume, but it's got enough here, right? It's got enough here, and this is a big level. So I want to come in and take a position on this. If we get like a flattish open, I won't chase like a gap up like on this. Like if it gaps up to like $8.50, $9, you never know with these things, right? Like that's not in the cards for me. BTDR, this is Bitdeer Technologies. Look, with Bitcoin breaking out here, I want to get into a couple. I want to have a couple of these ready to go. Mara also has a little bit of a level. Now, look, this is to me, this is a sloppy pattern, but it's got that specific kind of look to it, right? Like Riot's got a specific look, but to me, these are like a little bit sloppy. I think the ones that look better out of this group, let me just go to the daily chart here. I think CIFR looks, this is like, if you go here, this is a weekly, right? This 15-ish spot is, it's a pretty big level here. So my worry on this, like if you're a swing trader, it's hard to add up something that's already been up like 3-4 days in a row, right? So there's a difference between day trade entries and swing trade entries. Swing trade entries in a hot market, you want to be anticipating them. You want to be getting them near supports. Day traders, you want to get stocks when they speed up, right? So as day traders, like now that you're starting to clear out this stuff, we come into play here, but your swing trade entry is probably more a little bit over there, right? So at least when I'm swing trading, I like to get the momentum plays, but as they pull back into supports. And then as a day trader, I want stocks that have broken free of resistance so that there's no level of supply on top to kind of get into our way. So keep an eye on CIFR, right? You've got iron over here too. That's like, dude, the range on this, if you're a day trader, the range on this is just fantastic. 41 million shares in volume. So more than enough liquidity to get as much size as you want. And the range is just incredible. So the ATR is 9.3% per day, right? And the $4.71 in absolute terms, 9%. That's a good damn ATR. Like when I'm looking at stocks to trade, I want high ATR plays. I want a lot of liquidity in this kind of market. Like, I shy away from something if it has too big of a spread because you just don't need to play that game right now with so many stocks running. So keep an eye on iron. I think this one's got a chance for tomorrow too. I know everybody's been shitting on these quantum stocks all weekend because they're posting like their photos of their garages or whatever, but the chart still shows like it's holding up here. I know this company is probably a zero, but that may not matter. It doesn't matter till it matters. Like if you didn't know that this was, QUBT and you just looked at the chart, you'd be like, that's the best chart in the market, right? And so keep an eye on these. There still may be some trades in them. And yeah, like look, if RGTI blows out to $50 on Monday or Tuesday, yeah, we'll take it short here. But it's not going to be as easy of a short as people think because everybody and their uncle's staring at it, calling it a zero. And usually when that happens, they just kind of keep going. Like if this opens weak tomorrow, say this opens down 3, 4, 5% because everybody's been bashing all weekend. There's a good shot that it just goes red to green and smokes everybody out. So not my personal cup of tea. Unless it really blows out. Like I did try to short this one over here, like when it was completely outside the upper Bollinger Band. I couldn't get any traction on it. I was up like 50 cents, like 3-4 times. Like could not get anything more out of it. Like it just didn't have it. So what are you going to do, right? Like, when you short above your moving averages, stocks are really tough. Like, an easier shorts are like when you have stocks like Meta that are just have very weak structure, right? Like every bounce is getting faded. Your moving averages are curling down. The key is your 9 EMA, right? When the 9 EMA is curling down, your short-term trend is down. And now you have, right, something where you can, you got some downside to it. So that's an easier type of setup for me than trying to top tick, RGTI. Now, look, I'm a trader, and just for the experience sometimes, like I like to get into these, but they're really hard setups. They really are, and the options pricing on these is going to be through the roof on them. They're going to be super expensive. You're going to have to do commons anyways. And yeah, you can get your ass squeezed on this, so just be a little bit careful. I'm watching this SoFi for a swing trading setup. You're at the 50-day moving average, the lower Bollinger Bands there. Yeah, 10 stochastics. You were at $30. You've kind of retraced a lot of this here. You got earnings like, on the end of the month, but let's watch this one. What I want to do is watch and see if this holds the 50, and I'll start looking on shorter term time frames to see, right, if the structure starts to change, right, if I'm looking for clues to see, right, if that 50-day moving average is actually something that's going to hold. And then, right, I'll go to the smaller term time frame, and as it starts to build, I'll take a little gander on it. But I like this. This is probably more of a swing trade setup, I think, than a day trader. It has enough ATR to day trade, but a buck in this market, like I ain't throwing hard-earned dollars from my day trade account on a 1 ATR. Like I need to see a little bit more juice out of these things. And then this is the only nuclear that hasn't gone yet. It could use an inside day really. Like so, it was at $38 a couple days ago. Had a nice day. Big close, into the afternoon. Then it sold off some, but you would really like, man, if it gaps out of range tomorrow, I mean, you're on day 4 of a move. For me, I see a lot of failures in breakouts when you try to get them on day 4 of the move. So just kind of be mindful of that. You ideally, right, an inside day where it's just like kind of a narrow range day around here, that would tighten all of this up here and really set up for like a nicer trade. It still could be traded, but you get a much higher probability of failure on something like that. Shop is clearing out all of this Butamus, Maximus, Maurilius here. Pretty good range on this, even for day tradings. I like it. It was up 6% on Friday. You've got a 1-2 month and couple weeks, right? A base that is coming off a successful test of the 52. That's a good damn look. UUU, I think this probably rips the 18-19 again tomorrow. Just based on, the CRML news. And then, look, this bullish, it was down a little bit on Friday. Cryptos is up this weekend, right? Ethereum, Bitcoin, all of this stuff. Let's see if this thing can hold. I would consider this, minus this little wick here, almost like an inside day. Circle, man, I had a fucking nice shred on this thing. We were doing the zero DTEs on this, and it was incredible. Like it was, I hit this as it broke over the VWAP, and dude, you had really just good range on it for once. It got rugged into the close and came kind of like right back into it, but I think this is still probably tradable. I would have preferred it not to like reverse like that and finish down, 3% after having awesome like 13, 14 point squeeze, but the structure of it is still holding up. Obviously, this company's probably like a big turd, but it had some news out with Visa last week too, so you've got enough basing out here, I think, to take another shot at this. It was $300 here during that kind of like IPO mania. Let's see. Let's add this one to the watch list. Let's see what kind of action we got here. And then RKLB, we were all over this on Friday. I think this is still playable. Not on the swing trade basis, but on day trade basis. Remember, you got to know what type of, if you're a swing trader, you got to get them low and then kind of sell into this, right? And then trail up. If you're a day trader, now you've cleared out this range, you can keep hammering this thing on the day trades. If this thing opens weak, we're going to red to green it. You get a flat open even. I think that's fine. No previous days lows, previous day's high, and then the previous day's low and high. Guys, one of the things, it's very, people are always looking at the previous day's low, previous day's high. As a day trader, the previous is also very, very important. You often will see support levels, boom, like just nick right down into there, and then they turn the algos on, and it's off to the races. So I know this was a little bit long-winded. I love you guys. I'd give the watch list a solid B, maybe a B+. I don't know if there was any grade A setups right now. A lot of things are a little bit long in the tooth, but still there's more than enough solid stuff for us to do to keep making some cheddars. I love you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care.